Nigel Ernest James Mansell was born on the 8th of August 1953 in Upton upon Severn in Worcestershire, the son of Eric, an engineer, and Joyce Mansell. Mansell has been married to Roseanne since 1975 after meeting as students. He lived in Port Erin on the Isle of Man during most of his F1 career until 1995 and now currently lives in Jersey in the Channel Islands. His sons Leo and Greg are also racing drivers, while his daughter Chloe is a designer. Nigel Mansell had a fairly slow start to his racing career, using his own money to help work his way up the ranks. After considerable success in kart racing, he moved to the Formula Ford and raced in Formula 3 from 1978 to 1980. His driving was noticed by Colin Chapman, the owner of Lotus. He was then selected to become a test driver for the Norfolk-based Formula 1 team. Nigel was asked how did he first become aware of the interest from Lotus.
Basically back in 1978, a couple of years before he gave me my first opportunity. Worked for him as an engineer and progressed from there then to obviously having some testing then a year or so after, and then getting the first drive in 1980.
In 1992 he reached the pinnacle of motorsport. It would also be his finest season. The year started with 5 straight victories, a record not equalled until Michael Schumacher in 2004. One of the great matchups that season was between Mansell and Senna, with the Monaco Grand Prix becoming a classic game of cat and mouse. Nigel had to go into the pits and came out behind Senna into second place. But did Nigel still believe he could get past Senna and win the race?
No chance. I mean, Ayrton's too accomplished driver. I mean, look at how the rules have changed now. I mean, if anyone drives like Ayrton did then in '92, he'd have had 2 stop-go penalties in the pits for blocking. You know, how things change again. But it was sensational. Obviously very disappointing not to have won the race. But it showed, I think, a better skill than we see today in some ways. Monaco, incredible, 2, if you like, gladiators, racing cars like there's no tomorrow. We didn't touch.
Mansell was finally crowned Formula 1 World Champion at the age of 39, early in the season at the Hungarian Grand Prix, the 11th round of that season, where his second place finish clinched the Drivers' Championship, securing the title in the least number of Grand Prix wins since the 16-race season format had started. Mansell became the most successful British driver of all time when he won the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, as he surpassed Jackie Stewart's record of 27 wins with his 28th. Without doubt, the highlight for Nigel was always the British Grand Prix. We wondered what his thoughts were on his home race.
Yeah, the British Grand Prix was an amazing weekend, and I mean, it was just like, you know, the most legal drug you can have in the world. And Silverstone for me and the British Grand Prix, no matter where it is, I mean, it's just, I feel like I own it.
Despite being world champion, Mansell had a public disagreement with Williams. An 11th hour offer was made to him at the Italian Grand Prix, but by then the damage was done. Mansell retired from F1. He was then offered a position over the pond to race with Mario Andretti in the Newman Haas racing team. Nigel was asked his thoughts on joining the IndyCar series.
Yeah, no, it's extraordinary because, I mean, you know, Paul Newman, I mean, what a legend in his lifetime. I know sadly Paul's departed now, but, you know, he said to me, look, come to America and have an adventure. He said, I promise you it'll be an adventure, it'll be fun. And IndyCar at that time was, you know, right at probably the height of its racing ability. And of course we went over there and it was so different. I mean, going to some of the racetracks you like out in the Wild West in Phoenix, and yeah, it was an extraordinary experience. And I have to say, when I went over there and I drove the car for the first time, I was going, oh dear, this is not what I expected. But it was a challenge and it was fun, and everybody embraced it and wanted you there for the right reasons, so there wasn't any hassle. And we'd been living in America for a couple of years then as well, so we were very well settled. So we just got on to do the job.
And so, with probably the most famous words in motor racing history,
drivers, start your engine!
Nigel was ready to begin his IndyCar championship. At the season opener at Surfers Paradise in Australia, he became the first rookie to take pole position and win his first race. A few weeks later, however, he suffered a substantial crash at the Phoenix International Raceway, severely injuring his back.
Yeah, absolutely right. I backed it into the concrete wall at about 228 miles an hour. Punched a hole in a 3-foot thick concrete wall. The shock wave went through the gearbox and into my back, and obviously did quite severe damage to my back, and culminating in 148 stitches to sew my back up and taking a 14-inch by 12-inch section away.
But Nigel bounced back, and at the 1993 Indianapolis 500, Mansell would lead the race, only to finish third after losing the lead to Emerson Fittipaldi. On his 40th birthday, however, Nigel would avenge his loss at Indianapolis to score a 200-mile race victory at New Hampshire International Speedway, perhaps his most exciting IndyCar victory. He would go on to score 5 wins for the 1993 season, which, with more high-placed finishes, was good enough to earn him the championship. This enabled Nigel Mansell to become the only driver in history to hold both the Formula One and IndyCar championships at the same time.
Fifth. You're the champ. You're the champ. Ah, fantastic! We've won the championship. Yes. You won it. You won it. Everybody has just done a fantastic job. I can't thank you enough. We've definitely won the championship as well. Yeah. Hey, great job, guys.
Nigel always raced with the same number on his car, Red 5, which was given by the BBC One Formula One commentator Murray Walker. This led to Mansell retaining the red-coloured number throughout his career. Nigel Mansell has proven to the world what a great champion he was. His endeavour and determination to come back from what at times seemed like an impossible mission. He worked his way through the levels of motor racing to become king of the track. He is a person of exceptional natural ability and an extraordinary gift. He was not only the first man to win both F1 and IndyCar, but the first Briton to achieve this feat, and quite possibly one that no other person will ever record in the future. We will leave the last words to Nigel by asking how he will remember and look back on such a glittering career.
However they want to remember me by. I think a driver with tremendous commitment, honesty, integrity in the car, that no matter what car I drove, good ones, bad ones, indifferent ones, I always tried to give it my best. I think that's the difference in years gone by. You could see a driver carrying a car, you could see a driver putting his driving style into the car, whereas these days you can't see that anywhere near as much. And a driver that was a pure racer, that, you know, I didn't wait for things to happen, I made things happen. And I think that's why the fans embraced my driving style and the way I was, and you know, it was great fun.